So I'm Dr. Shweta, course director and mentor at MRCOG, and I'm very happy today to introduce this new course, which is MRCOG Part 1. We are already having course for Part 2 and Part 3, and hopefully we want to take the students from first step till the last step. So we took this first step also now. So MRCOG Part 1, we are starting soon. So I welcome you all to today's session. And with me, Dr. Priyadarshini is there, who is a very enthusiastic and passionate teacher. So hopefully you will all like Dr. Priyadarshini as well. As you have given me a lots and lots of love, the same love you will be able to give her because she's really a good one. So let us introduce ourselves. Most of you must be knowing me. So after I will be telling Dr. Priyadarshini to tell a word about herself. So this is me, Dr. Shweta, MD MRCOG. I did my MD in 2008 from Mumbai, KM Hospital. Then I practiced in India as a consultant. Then I moved to Middle East, and in Riyadh I worked as a specialist there for 4 years. And it was a beautiful experience in Middle East country. So I do have the experience of Middle East countries, and it was a good one, believe me. And I did my MRCOG there to stand on the international front, and it really worked out well. I did my MRCOG in 2019. I finished all my part, and with God grace, I finished all my part in first attempt, and I finished my journey of MRCOG in 1.5 years. So it's doable. It's doable in first attempt. So don't think that it is a difficult one. And yes, taking the first step sometime could be difficult, but definitely it's a good one. And it's a knowledge roller coaster ride, which is a long one, but really, believe me, after this, you really feel very satisfied. Presently, I'm in Barts NHS Trust, London, UK, and I'm teaching now almost a year now. And you can check our feedbacks in YouTube channel in our website. So you will get to know how students are getting benefited with MMRCOG. And if you want to be starting this journey, definitely you are most welcome. So this is my photo from Middle East. And this is my photo here in NHS Barts. This is very new photo. So I'm very happy about my journey from here to here, and hopefully it will be further more fascinating with all this knowledge and with enlightening everybody with the knowledge. If they want to take this path, we can make it more smoother and easier. And I'm very happy to have Dr. Priyadarshini with me. Dr. Priyadarshini, if you can please introduce yourself. I'm very happy that Dr. Priyadarshini is really very enthusiastic and dedicated for teaching, and she will be definitely a very good addition to MMRCOG. Dr. Priyadarshini, over to you. We cannot hear you, Dr. Priyadarshini. Hello, Dr. Priyadarshini, are you with us? Yes, my dear, if you can please speak. Dr. Priyadarshini, if you can please speak.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be joining on this platform from MRCOG, and I would like to thank Dr. Shweta a lot to give me this opportunity to be a part of this. And I'm very happy to be, more than happy to be a companion to all of you who aspire to be in this journey of the membership to the Royal College. So I hope you all enjoy preparing for the exam with us, and we are able to help you in any way, the best possible way from our side. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Priyadarshini. And I know that we will be together able to help the students more. So 1 plus 1 is 11. So definitely it will be a joyful ride for all of us.
Yes, I hope so.
Okay, so what is our agenda today? Today we are here to discuss why to do MRCOG and how to go about it. If you have decided to do MRCOG, how to go about it is also very important. So we will be taking step by step every thing, how to go about every bookings and how to book the exam and how many parts, all the details you will get. We will understand how to start preparing, how to organize ourselves, what material we will follow, how to set the right timelines, how to succeed in first attempt, which is very important because sometimes if you are, the part one is little difficult for postgraduate student and it is easier for the student who are trying after graduation. So it's like first step is difficult for postgraduate student, which is part one, and part two is little difficult for the graduate students because they have not exposure of OB-GYN. So definitely, if you pass that first attempt, if you succeed in this by first attempt, your confidence get boost up, and then definitely you can do the part two and part three also easily, and uh, it will finish faster in a more smoother and pleasurable way. So definitely, it makes a difference in boosting your confidence. What are the benefits of doing MRCOG? What could be the benefit of doing MRCOG is you can relocate to UK. Yes, if some of you might be willing to relocate to UK by doing MRCOG, this is an online degree. You don't have to travel here and there to do this. You don't have to do any fellowship, nothing. You only have to give the exam, pass the exam, get the degree, and then if you want, you can do GMC registration and you can relocate to UK. So it's easy, especially for graduate students, the MBBS students who are shaping their future now, who are thinking of doing ops and gynae, if they start from the beginning here, that will be much easier for them and much faster. They will become consultant and they can practice in NHS. So it will be much easier. So if you are planning to relocate to UK, it's a good way of doing MRCOG and coming here after the degree rather than coming here and then, because here the schedule is really, really busy. So then you don't get time to read. So better to do the degree at your comfort zone in your country at your comfort, and then later you can come here for work experience and practice, and then gradually you become consultant here. So it's a good way to start for the graduate students. And for the postgraduate students who are already established in their practice also, this is a good boost to update you with knowledge. What happens sometime after some years, like when I will tell you my story. When I went to Middle East, I almost practiced 9 years in India. And then when I went to Middle East, I thought what I will tell to others, what I am practicing, which guideline I am following, how to tell them that what I am doing is correct. So these all questions raised in front of me. Then I thought, why not take an international degree so that I can tell that I am following RCOG guidelines? So nobody can tell me what you're following, and my knowledge also get updated, because we all know that after doing the degree it's very difficult to go back for reading. We have family commitment, we have work commitment, we have children, we have many things. So sometimes we cannot focus on this part. So updating the knowledge means you feel more satisfied in your own self, as well as you get so many friends. When I started doing MRCOG part 1, I got so many friends online, and it was like a virtual friendship world where I felt sometimes more cared. When I was doing MRCOG, I felt that they are my family, like that. So it really gives you another world to learn also, as well as in a fun way, in a pleasurable way. And then every year there are 4 talks. That is their journal. So by reading that, you keep updating your knowledge. So nobody can feel that we are not reading anything or we are not updated. You get all the updates, and even you can educate your juniors. You can stand in front of everybody, stand tall that your knowledge is updated. So definitely it's a good one to update your knowledge and keep motivating yourself to be updated. Some of you might be willing to teach. like Dr. Priyadarshini, like me. So if you want to teach, it can fulfill your dream of teaching, because I always wanted to come in the field of teaching. This is the easiest way of teaching. Like, you can just teach online. So it's not like you have to go somewhere, a student has to come somewhere. It's like at your home, at your comfort, you can teach and student can get benefited from your knowledge. So it's a very good thing. I really feel very blessed when students get benefited from our teaching, and they bless me. I feel this is the biggest blessing, and this is the perk of this mentoring, perk of this teaching, that student really feel blessed by your teaching, and you get that blessing back. So that's really a dream come true for the mentoring. If you have a quest of teaching, you can satisfy that by this. Then in India, in corporate world, if you see the corporate world, you get a better opportunity in big corporate. You can get your job, and you can get a competitive pace because you have an international degree. So it makes a difference. Even when I was in India, in some places they were taking only the doctors who are MRCOG. So some corporates do have this rule also. So it's a way of quality check basically. If you are updated, if you are having MRCOG degree, means they know that you have already gone through the toughest. So definitely you are a up-to-date person. Then comes the job opportunity in Middle East. If anyone of you want to relocate to Middle East or want to go to Middle East for short time just for experience, this is a good one, because after MRCOG in Middle East, you get a better pay structure, as well as you get more job opportunity, you get more stable jobs in big hospitals. So this is also because I myself stayed in Riyadh for 4 years, so it's quite a good one for Middle East country job opportunities also. So it's a win-win situation, and you can do it sitting at home. So if any of you think that it can make a difference in your career, and you can shape your career in a better way, if you have immediately finished your post graduation also, this will really help you in shaping your future in a better way. So think about it, and if you want to do it, we are there to help you out from A to Z, from step 1 till step 3. So MRCOG is in 3 part. If you want to get the degree, you have to pass all 3 parts: part 1, then part 2, and then part 3. So once you part the part 1, you have to give part 2 at least within 7 years. But I will suggest that once you have decided something, you have started something, you should finish it. And that is what motto of my life. Whenever I start something, I always finish it. I never leave it in between. So what is the point in giving so much big gap? Though they tell you can give it till 7 years, because what happens sometime doing MBBS, people give part 1 and keep it. And then after doing their degree, they do part 2. It's a good thing. So they have a 7-year gap here. And between part 2 and part 3 also, they have a 7-year gap. Once you pass the part 2, you can give 4 attempts for part 3. It is valid for 4 attempts. For part 2, there is no fixed number of attempts. You can give as many as you like. So this is how the path goes. And believe me, it's a it's a real extensive knowledge ride, where you really feel that now you can deal with anything. Now you know everything. You keep revising things. You like to read. If you like to enhance your knowledge, this degree will really keep you on toes, and you will really enjoy it. And I really enjoyed it. And actually, whenever you relocate, or you go to different country or whatsoever, if you stand tall, if you already have the international knowledge, it really helps you to be confident and not get nervous in front of other nationalities. So it's really a boon to have an international degree. What all things you should know when you are planning to do MRCOG? First of all, you have to do the eligibility. You have to fill up the eligibility form. You have to do the exam booking. You should know the sources, and you should know the material as well as the syllabus, that what you have to follow to pass this MRCOG Part 1 exam. How you will book the exam? Some of you might have not yet thought of it, or might be thinking, shall we give it? Will there be any benefit of it? Believe me, it's beneficial. It's not only about the incentive in the form of knowledge, incentive in the form of evidence-based practice. It also give you extra benefits. So it's really a worth step to take if you are thinking about it. Because when I finished my MD, I wanted to do it. And I asked the seniors, I asked some people who have already done it, and they discouraged me. So I didn't do at that time. But if you ask me, the right thing to do is uh, do it and keep yourself updated, keep updating yourself, and you will always feel more confident and more excited about your knowledge. So how you'll book the exam? First of all, you have to set up an account at RCOG website. So you have to go at RCOG website and set your account. Once you do that, you get unique college number. That is your college number, RCOG number, which will be forever valid. Then you have to submit the eligibility and expression of interest forms. Then you have to choose when and where you plan to sit the exam. For in India also there are many centers, as well as in all over world, everywhere in Middle East country, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, many places, every place, Singapore, many places they have the center. So whichever center suits you, in Pakistan, everywhere there is center. So whichever center suits you, whichever place you like, according to where you stay, you can choose and set a deadline. Until unless you have an exam date, nobody read, isn't it? So no point in reading and not fixing what date you want to give the exam. So usually the exam happen 2 times a year, January and July. But sometime an additional exam happen in September if too much of backlog. So it's quite a lot people are giving exam actually. Once you start preparing for it, you get to know that many people are striving for knowledge. And believe me, they are all happy preparing together, and they enjoy reading, they enjoy learning. So it makes them more enlightened with the knowledge. So this allow them to do evidence-based practice. So they want to do it. Once you choose where and when you want to give the exam, you have to book the exam and secure a place for yourself. So this is how you can book your exam for part 1. So this is the eligibility application form. It looks like this. So you have to put your number, your personal details, and then medical qualification. What qualification you need for part 1? You don't need much. Only a graduation, a medical graduation degree like MBBS is enough. So whatever you have, you can put your qualification and you can give it. You don't need post graduation, MD, DNB, MS. Nothing is FCPS. Nothing is needed. Simple MBBS is enough for you to give this exam of part 1. Then you have to fill the expression of interest. So once you have filled the eligibility form, then you have to fill this expression of interest where you tell that I'm interested for this exam. So that you have to send to the college. Once you do that, you can check the dates on the website. If you click on the RCOG website, you will get the next exam date. So this is the next exam date on 19th of September. The expression of interest opened quite ahead, which is in May. For September exam, it opens in May. And then eligibility deadline is in June. Then the booking window open in July and the exam is in September. Usually the booking finish quite soon. So don't wait till the end date. The day the booking opens, you should book your place, secure your place, so that whatever preparation you are doing, it will not be like you didn't get the exam. So try to book as soon as possible on the day, as soon as it opens, better to book it. And then after you give the exam, approximately 3 weeks or 4 weeks, the result come out. So all the dates are available on site. So whenever you decide, you can check the site and then you can decide your date. How is the exam format? It is a computer-based exam. It has 2 papers, 100 single best answers, 2.5 hours, and it carries 50% of total mark each paper. So 1 paper, 2 paper, both are 50-50%, and it's 2.5 hour exam of 100 SBAs. If you see the portion, paper 1 and paper 2, these are the portion of paper 1, anatomy, biochemistry, embryology, endocrinology, epidemiology, stats, genetics, physiology. Out of which, if you see, sometimes for students who are postgraduated already and who are doing OB/GYN practice only, they feel that how I'm going to read all this again. But please understand that you don't have to read it in depth. You only have to read it from MRCOG perspective. There are fixed number of books. You just have to go through that, and only little bit you have to read, only the important things you have to read. You don't have to go to in detail of every subject of your MBBS. You just have to do the targeted study, targeted point, and it's not difficult. Even sometimes people say that they could do it within 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So it's not difficult. 3 months is more than enough for you if you are going in the right direction and doing the preparation from the right sources, 3 months are more than enough to prepare for part one. So don't think that it is a hindrance. It is before entering into the ocean of knowledge of part two, which is mainly guideline, RCOG guideline, and everything, you have to pass this step. So part one is a step which you have to clear to enjoy the part two reading for especially the postgraduate student. For graduate students, it's very easy because they have recently finished everything. So already it's in their mind. So it's much easier for them and even they can do it in a shorter time. So you don't have to go in detail of this subject is what you should keep in mind. And it's not difficult, it's doable. Don't think that I cannot pass this, go through all this again of my MBBS subject before going into part two. Yes, you can. And with the right guidance, it will be much, much smoother and simpler. Out of which the things which are new, which we find challenging when we do part one, is statistics, epidemiology, genetics, which sometimes we don't focus much. So statistics, genetics, and here some new subjects are biophysics, data interpretation, clinical management is just like OB-GYN, so it's not very difficult. Immunology sometimes could be challenging. Otherwise, all the subject we know. So in data interpretation, if you see, mainly it is about ECG data and like respiratory curves and ABG interpretation, which we are trying to simplify today. So these are the things which are little new, but believe me, it's very good when you read it. Ultimately, it's something related to our field only, so you don't feel bored. You like it. Statistics is a new one, and you will really enjoy it when you read it because whenever you read a journal, you get the statistics. So sometimes we don't understand that what method has been used and the charts and all that. So by having a bit of knowledge of statistics, you can read the journal in a more effective way. Your own journal, Indian journal, or other national journal, you can easily read that and interpret that in a better way. So it's just a little effort you have to put for a shorter period of time, but the outcome is much, much bigger and much, much beneficial. And definitely we are there to simplify it for you and make it more absorbable for you to make it clear in first attempt itself. So these are the books out of which this Oxford book is the Bible. This is the Bible for part one, and it is in the point based, like dot point, bullet point, everything is given. If you finish this book, you pass the exam. So only one book is enough if you see. But people like me who cannot remember the bullet point, because for me, I can remember 2 points from a paragraph rather than having two bullet point. So everybody is different, everybody's way of reading different. So this book is a good one to revise for people like me who read in paragraphs and take out their own points. So this book have everything related to exam, and you can pass the exam easily by reading this book if you are satisfied with bullet point. But if you want to read in paragraphs, this is a very good book. This is a real good book, and I liked it so much that I just wanted to keep it with me. But unfortunately, when I travel from Riyadh to UK, I have to leave it because I cannot bring so many books. So this is really a good one. If you read it, you really enjoy it. You go back to your MBBS days, but you get so much concept clarity, and you really like it. Then this is a basic science. This is another book by Philip Bennett, and this is another book by Richa Saxena. So these are all books. It is not like you have to read all. There are many others also, Tim Chad for the basics and many things. There are many books. But our aim is not to read the books. This is not anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, which we have to read separately so many books. This one book has all the topics. So any one book format, whichever you like, you can pick that up and read that. It's not like this book, that book, whatever you like, whatever makes you comfortable, you can read that book and make notes out of that if you like. So that's way you can read. So these are some books commonly used and popular books for part one. And this is all available free in the free Telegram group of MMRCOG. So you can join that group and get all the books there. Then these are the SBA practice book. So in this books also there are some questions, but these are the SBA books which you have to follow. So this SBA book has what kind of questions are coming in exam. So this is very good. Andrew Caesar is a very good author, even for part two, even for part one. And the questions are really very precise and to the point. So all these books are very good. You can just do it for practice, and more you practice, the more you get confident and it become easier for you. Then what are the online resources? There are some online resources like Strategy. Strategy is RCOG's material. So Strategy even for part 1, even for part 2, even for part 3, mainly for part 2. Strategy questions for part 2 is very beneficial, but even for part 1 and part 3, they have the resources. And even you get online CPD points and online this talk questions are there, which you can practice for the knowledge. So these are the online resources. And other is the BMJ on examination. This one is a good one, but this is very extensive. I don't know if this much is needed to pass the exam. Yes, this is good for knowledge. This is good for knowledge if you want to read, but this is too much extensive. So sometimes you get carried away that I have to finish this and remember this. No, this is just for your knowledge to make your knowledge more stronger, but this is not a must to clear the exam. So understand that fact, that don't get worried about so much because you have to pass the exam. This is just for your knowledge. Okay, so I'm sorry I lost my audio connection. So I was talking that these online resources are not mandatory, but yes, it enhance your knowledge. If you want to read from here, you can read that. So what are the steps you have to follow? First of all, you have to collect all the books. You have to select a course and a mentor who can guide you in a simpler manner. Like especially my students, they always tell me that you really put the things in a simple manner and even complicated things look very simple. So this is what we are trying to do today by ABG interpretation, because we are not usually seeing the ABGs, and ABG is something which is very important for part 1 exam. So we are trying to simplify that. So in a way, if somebody is there to hold your hand to take you through the right path where they have already gone through that path, it becomes much and much pleasurable and easier. You have to do the recalls. We all must be aware of the recalls. Recalls, ideally, they say that nobody should be having recalls and all that thing. But everywhere, if you see there is a recall available, that is the whatever students have recalled from the previous exam, and most of the time that question get repeated. So some students even say that practicing recall makes a lot of difference, and it's true. Always, even for part 1, 2, or 3, for all the parts, recall makes a difference. So at least last 5-year recall we should solve to understand what is the important topic, what things we should remember, and what things are less important. Because at the end you have to remember everything. At least you have to do 3 revision of highlighted point. Whatever you have made, at least 3 revision is required. And then because it is a computer based exam, sometimes we are not used to that. When I gave the exam, I was not at all used to with the computer, believe me. I was like a paper person, paper and pen. If you will tell me to do something in computer, I will get sweating because I was not having any exposure of computer. And now if you see, I have learned so much in computer, believe me, from Facebook to PowerPoint presentation to doing online sessions to whatnot. So I think I have grown a lot from the beginning when I started part 1 in 2000. So 18, from there till now, I have grown a lot. I think I have improved in many aspects in my life. So you have to practice computer-based test if you have not done that before to become confident about that. This is our website where you can get all the details of, even you can check our students' feedback there. This is our free Telegram group link, which is also available in the description as well as the comment section of all the videos in the YouTube. Okay, so hand over to you, Dr. Priyadarshini, for this ABG interpretation. As I told you all that this is an important part of data interpretation. So Dr. Priyadarshini will take you through this presentation of ABG. Hand over to you, Dr. Priyadarshini. You can you can move the slides because you are co-presenter, so no problem.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, once again. And let's start with ABG interpretation. As Madam told, that Dr. Shweta, that we try to do a lot of recalls in the exam. So ABG was one topic where the recalls, if we see those mnemonics that come into play. But believe me, sometimes the question comes in such a way that the mnemonics don't work. So I thought that ABG is something a little difficult for us, not difficult, but something which is offbeat for us, because as obstetricians we are not doing it regularly. So I thought of making this topic a little more concept based, so that whenever this question is asked, be it part 1, and sometimes I've seen question in part 2 as well, so whenever this question pops up, you're able to solve it because it becomes more concept based. So
Can you move the slide, Dr. Priyadarshini, or shall I move it for you?
uh, Dr. Shweta, you move it because it's not happening from my end. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay.
Yeah, so there is a balancing act that is taking place in the body. It's like a tug of war between the acidotic component and the basic component to maintain this normal value of pH, which ranges from 7.35 to 7.45. And this is an important number. You have to memorize this, that the normal pH is from 7.35 to 7.45. To maintain this, there is a balancing act, a tug of war, which is happening between the acidic component, and the acidic component is the carbon dioxide. Now, this is a memory aid which I suggest, that remember carbon dioxide as carbon diacid. So, carbon dioxide will contribute to the acidic part in the body. Then the second one is the base, that is the bicarbonate. So, I would again suggest a memory aid, that B for base, B for bicarbonate. So, you can remember it that way. Next slide, please. So here you can see that how the acidic component is more, so the pH falls to less than 7.35, and this is a acidic disorder in the body. The second one is just the opposite, where the basic component increases in the body. So the body becomes more alkalotic and the pH rises above 7.45. Now, this is one equation which is known as the Henderson-Hasselbach's equation, according to which you can see that water in the body combines with carbon dioxide to produce carbonic acid, which is H2CO3, which breaks down into the bicarbonate and the hydrogen ion. So these are the two ions which will contribute to the acidic component or the basic component in the body. And acidemia, as you remember from this box, acidemia is when the hydrogen ions increase or the bicarbonate decreases. So as I suggested, that the memory aid is just remember the B's. B is base, bicarbonate, and it occurs in the metabolic disorder. So all the B's, this will help you to understand that whether we are dealing with a respiratory component or a metabolic component. So B is base, bicarbonate, mostly seen in the metabolic derangement. And acid, as I told you, carbon dioxide, or you can remember it as oxide or hydrogen ions. So what will happen? If the bicarbonate level decreases, then the pH will also decrease, which will lead to metabolic, because we are dealing with B, that is bicarbonate. So it is a metabolic acidosis. And the second one is metabolic alkalosis, where the bicarbonate ions increases. So this forms the basis of that mnemonic Rome, that respiratory is opposite and metabolic is equal. But sometimes the questions will be so tricky, as we will see in the subsequent slide, that it becomes difficult to apply that mnemonic. That is why we have taken this session where we will make it a little more concept based. And similarly, in the next part, we can see that in the respiratory acidosis, the carbon dioxide increases. So there is a high level of H2CO3, that is the carbonic acid. So pH falls. And then if the carbon dioxide decreases, then there is low levels of carbonic acid. So pH rises. So this is like respiratory opposite. This is how we used to remember. But let's see what exactly is happening at the physiological level, so that we get a clearer concept of what is happening. So just this is a very helpful, I think, slide, which will help you to know that where are the sites in the body dealing with which component. So as you can see, the first column is that the respiratory system, that is the lung, is taking care of the carbon dioxide. So lungs are the site where the carbon dioxide is being ventilated out. The second one is the kidneys. Now kidney handles both the hydrogen ions as well as the bicarbonate, and bicarbonate is the component which is important because the nephrons, the proximal, in the next picture you can see that it's written in blue, that the proximal convoluted tubule, the bicarbonate is absorbed, reabsorbed uh, maximally. And this is also an important recall question in the physiology paper, that where in the nephron the bicarbonate is absorbed maximally. So this is the proximal convoluted tubule. So we can see that the kidney is excreting hydrogen ions in the urine, acidifying it, as well as it is handling the bicarbonate. So if there is any problem, if there is any renal disease, there will be acidosis. Similarly, in the gut, what is happening in the gut? In the gut, you can see that the bicarbonate is being reabsorbed. So if a patient presents to you with diarrhea, then again, the patient will lose bicarbonate, the levels of bicarbonate will fall. And as we know that the low levels of bicarbonate will lead to acidosis. Now, what happens when the HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid, is lost from the stomach when the patient presents to you with vomiting, like hyperemesis we see? So there the hydrogen ion is being lost, so metabolic alkalosis. So this picture just summarizes that what happens in the body at what tissue, how the acidic and the basic components are being handled. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is an important slide, an important summary. Sometimes in the question, you will get a history based approach where the history of the patient is given. So from this slide, you can make out that respiratory acidosis, as I told you, that respiratory acidosis will take place when the carbon dioxide in the body rises. So if the carbon dioxide in the body is retained, in those conditions, there will be respiratory acidosis, like when there is low respiratory rate or there is a slow respiration seen in cases of sleep apnea, head trauma, post-op anesthesia, CNS depression like opioid or alcohol intoxication, or even high doses of benzodiazepine. And when there is an alveolar damage, so when there is a damaged alveoli, the gaseous exchange will be impaired, as seen in cases of COPD, asthma, or pneumonia. So all these conditions will lead to respiratory acidosis. The reverse will happen in respiratory alkalosis, that is, the respiratory rate will become higher. It will be faster, as seen in cases of panic attack and hyperventilation. Now, what will happen in metabolic acidosis? As I told you, as you can see the picture in kidneys, the bicarbonate is absorbed maximally at the proximal convoluted tubule. If that is hampered, then there will be metabolic acidosis. Similar picture in diarrhea, as I told you, that the bicarbonate is lost, it is not absorbed, so the patient will land up in metabolic acidosis. The similar picture is seen in diabetic ketoacidosis and sepsis. And in the last column, what is happening in the metabolic alkalosis? Patient presents with hyperemesis or vomiting, or even if there is nasogastric tube suction, then the hydrogen chloride which is there in the stomach is being evacuated, so the body loses the H ion, so it leads to metabolic alkalosis. So this is an important slide which can help you in the history based, you can approach your ABG. Now, next slide, please.
Yeah. Yes, so this is very important slide. Thank you, Dr. Priyadarshini, for telling, but it is not only always the ABG interpretation. It is also about what they have given you in the question. Like if they have given you some situation of respiratory suppression, anything either suppressing the respiration or suppressing the gas exchange can lead to acidosis due to CO2 retention. It's clear for all of us. Then alkalosis will be because of hyperventilation, the opposite of it, as Dr. Priyadarshini told. And metabolic is mainly related to gut and kidney. So anything affecting the gut and kidney or anything affecting the generalized system of the body like sepsis and decay can lead to acidosis. So this is most severe, most condition which is bad for the body. Metabolic acidosis is bad for the body, which you should keep in mind. So alkalosis is not that bad. Acidosis means the body is losing it. So acidosis is something you will be seeing in severe conditions like this. And then the alkalosis in cases of vomiting due to loss of H plus ion. So it's simple thing, but once you understand it, then you don't have to memorize it. Then you can easily interpret it when you see it in question, and you can easily answer what situation they are going to give you, what kind of ABG they are going to give you. So you can supplement your information of ABG, knowledge of ABG, with the condition they have provided in the question. And then you can be double sure that your answer is correct. Right, Dr. Priyadarshini, am I right?
Very well said. Yeah. I hope
Yes,
this was
very good, my dear. Yes, yeah, that's a beautiful slide actually, and it's telling everything about the different condition. Yes.
now, when we see that what we get in our hospitals, when we see in our case records, if we see a strip of ABG, it is really it's panicking. It really gives you shudders that, oh my God, so many numbers. Now, how do we
Yes,
interpret?
you are right. Still for me, still.
Our clinicians are like totally
Yes.
taken aback that so many numbers and what to do next. But believe me, take a take a pause, take a deep breath of relief because you are going to master this by just looking at these three parameters. The fourth one is just PaO2, which will tell you whether the patient, how much hypoxic the patient is. But just take a breather. These are the key players in the interpretation of ABG. So number one, pH. P stands for primary, like the prime thing which you have to notice. The first thing which you will notice is P. P stands for primary. So first is pH. In carbon dioxide, you see a number 2. So second thing which you will notice is carbon dioxide. In HCO3, you see a number 3, as the element itself says that it's HCO3. So the third thing which you will notice is the bicarbonate. And as I told you, PaO2 is nothing but just it will tell you how much hypoxic the patient is. So the key players are the top three: pH, CO2, and the third one is HCO3. So let's see how it goes. Ma'am, next slide. Huh. So the range to remember, this is important and this will solve most of your problems. So what is pH? As I told you, the primary thing, the prime thing is pH. So pH, it ranges from 7.35 to 7.45. For second step, PCO2, just drop the sevens. Just forget about those sevens. Remember, 35 to 45 millimeters of mercury. So easy to remember, pH starts from 3.75 to 7.45, sorry, 7.35 to 7.45. Drop those sevens, come to PCO2, that is 35 to 45. And HCO3, you have to just remember it because it's 22 to 26. And PaO2 is 80 to 100 millimeters of mercury. So these numbers, if you mug up just before the exam, you will be able to solve the question which is given. So we will see some examples, and this is an important chart, how the compensation is happening. You can see the same numbers. Only thing in this chart is given that pH, the lower side is acidic, the higher side, that is 7.45, is basic. In PCO2, the reverse happens. 35 is basic, 45 is acidic side, and bicarbonate, it is the same. 22 is the acidic side and 26 is the basic side. So this is the most important chart if you just remember these numbers. And I gave you a memory aid also, the 35, 45. It will become easy for you to go ahead with the question.
Yeah, that's true.
So what are the steps in reading an ABG? So there are just three steps. First, go to the prime thing, the primary thing, pH. Identify whether it is acidosis or alkalosis. So first see the pH. Second, to know whether it is a respiratory condition or a metabolic condition. So how do we do that? By seeing the carbon dioxide and the bicarbonate. So second and third components, that is CO2 and HCO3, that will tell you whether it is respiratory or metabolic. And the third component is sometimes in the options it will be there whether it is compensated or it is uncompensated. So we will look into it how to go about doing this. So for example, now we will see this is the question. pH is 7.5, PCO2 is 40, and HCO3 is 30. So anybody would want to just make a guess. And this picture is just a memory aid. I have put this picture in most of the slides to tell you that PCA2 is mainly, if PCA2 is deranged, it is the respiratory component that is deranged. It is mostly the respiratory disorder. And if HCO3 is deranged, then it is the metabolic disorder. So anybody in the participants would want to attempt, or should we go to the answer?
Yes, Dr. Farheen, do you want to answer this?
I
As we
think
know, the normal level of pH is 35 to 45. What do you think? What is it? Okay, maybe Dr. Priyadarshini, you can go ahead because this is first time. So they are
First time.
apprehensive to answer. So maybe you can tell
No,
how
this
to
is
go
very
about
simple.
it.
As I told you, the levels, just remember the 35s and 45s. So 7.5 is definitely the higher side. So it's alkalosis. And PCO2, 35 to 45 within range, so it is normal. And HCO3, 22 to 26, so it is above. So it is HCO3 that is deranged. So it is a metabolic condition and it is on the alkalotic side. So it is metabolic alkalosis. This is how we are going to solve the questions. Next slide. Yes, so this is the answer. 7.5 alkalosis, yes. Now another condition. pH is 7.31, PCO2 is 36, HCO3 is 20. So what would be the answer? So 7.31 is acidic, PCO2 is within the range that is 35 to 45, HCO3 is lower. There's a drop in HCO3, that is bicarbonate. So the deranged component is metabolic. So it is metabolic acidosis. Now, how about this one? pH is 7.29, PCO2 is 56, and HCO3 is 24. So we see that pH is towards the acidotic side, PCO2 is way higher deranged, so it is a respiratory condition, and HCO3 is within the range that is 22 to 26. So it is res respiratory acidosis. Now, how about this one? pH is 7.48, PCO2 is 26, and bicarbonate is 22. So here it is more on the alkalotic side. pH is more than 7.48. PCO2 is less and HCO3 is normal. So it is respiratory alkalosis. Now, the third part of the question, sometimes in the options you will get whether the condition is compensated or uncompensated. So just remember that if you have a normal pH and any of these two components, that is PCO2 or the bicarbonate is abnormal, just remember in your mind that a compensation has happened, that despite the deranged values, pH is normal. So there is a compensatory mechanism that is taking place, and the two main sites where the compensatory mechanism takes place is the adjustment taking place in the lung through ventilation or the kidneys, which will do the reabsorption and the secretion of the hydrogen ion part. So we will see some questions that will make more clearer. So here is the compensation, how it works. Suppose we have a respiratory condition. Ma'am, the previous slide, just to tell them. Yeah. So this is the compensation where suppose in the respiratory condition, if there is acidosis, the kidneys will come into action and it will try and increase the bicarbonate to more than 126. Reverse will happen if there is respiratory alkalosis, the kidneys will bring down the bicarbonate to 22, less than 22. And then in metabolic condition, the lungs will come into action for compensation. That is, if there is metabolic acidosis, the lungs will bring down the carbon dioxide, and if it is alkalosis, it will elevate the carbon dioxide to more than 45. So this is how the compensatory mechanism is happening. And let's see in the question whether to say whether compensation is into play or not. That will be seen by this clinical scenario that is given. Next slide. So in this condition, as you can see, pH is 7.31, which is in the acidotic range. PCO2 is 56, which is way high, and HCO3 is also 30, which is also higher. So how do you decide that what condition is this? So this is respiratory acidosis with partial compensation. Why partial compensation and not full compensation? Because the pH is still abnormal. Now, how do we say this? What you have to keep in mind is you see the condition in which the body is. So here the body is in the acidotic state. And in the first slide I told you, just remember carbon diacid. So if it is carbon dioxide, where is it being processed or where is it being handled? It is handled in the lungs. So the condition is respiratory. So here the derangement is in the respiratory system, but the compensation is coming from the kidneys. So in this acidotic state, there is respiratory acidosis with partial compensation. Why? Because the pH has not been restored back to the normal level. It is still on the acidotic side. So this is how you're going to say in your question. If it is a respiratory component, if it is an acidotic state, then the respiratory condition is there with compensation from the opposite organ. And if it is a metabolic condition, then the kidneys will be coming into play. So if it is a basic alkaline, as I told you, remember the B's. If the base is increased, then it is a metabolic condition. Here it is acidosis, so it's a respiratory condition. Is it
So
clear?
as I
I hope.
understand, yeah, Dr. Priyadarshini, it's absolutely crystal clear. So as I understand, here the respiratory problem is there, something is related in the body where the respiration is not happening properly. That's why the CO2 is getting retained, and that's why there is respiratory acidosis is happening. That is the reason. If you see the pH, you see the acidosis, and because PCO2 is high, it is respiratory condition which is leading to acidosis, right? And then the metabolic compensation, as you told, by kidney came into picture and tried to compensate, but couldn't compensate it fully to make it normal. That's why we are telling it is partial compensation. So it's abnormal pH, but not that abnormal because metabolic compensation is there. So that's a thing which happen in the body. Whenever the CO2 start rising, the body start making increase bicarb to compensate for increased PCO2. This is a simple formula for body to compensate, as you told us. So yes, this must be some condition where there is respiratory suppression, like opioid overdose or something, because of which CO2 is rise. Am I correct?
Yes. We'll move on to
Okay.
the next problem. Now, when do we say full compensation? Because in the options you will get, is it partial, is it full, is it uncompensated? So this is how you have to deal with the question. So here you can see that the pH is 7.4. PCO2 is 49, which is again high, and HCO3 is also high, which is in the range of 30. So here we can easily say that as the pH is brought to the normal range, there is a compensatory mechanism in the body which is compensated fully because the pH now lies in the normal range. But again, as I told you, that since it is the pH is towards the alkalotic side, like it is more than 7.4, so body is basically on the alkaline side. So it is metabolic uh, component which comes into play. And this is metabolic alkalosis, which is with compensation which is happening through the carbon dioxide, the rise in the lungs. That is how they are producing more
Yes.
of compensation. Yeah.
Yes, so always we have to check for the condition what they have given also with the ABG. So that will help us in making sure that what diagnosis we are dealing with.
Now, sometimes there is a dilemma. Now, where lies the dilemma? Which is the challenging part? Sometimes they will give a normal pH and the deranged, as we saw in the previous slides, that there is derangement both in the carbon dioxide and also in the bicarbonate. And how do we handle these situations in the question? So we will see there are two ways of doing it. So if the pH is normal and both the carbon dioxide and the bicarbonate both are in the deranged levels, how do we know that what would be the diagnosis? So first thing is you know the diagnosis, you know the history. From the question, you can just read the history of the patient and you can make out. So if there is a respiratory condition like COPD, then it is acidosis. Like the first slide, it is here comes the role of the first slide where we showed that what are the changes that is taking place in the body in various conditions. And suppose if the patient comes to you with a condition of vomiting, then we are dealing with alkalosis. But what if only pH is given and there is no diagnosis? Then what would you do? So in this circumstance, you just see the range of the pH. So as I told you, the normal one is 7.35 to 7.45. So from 7.35 to 7.39, just the threes, the body is more in the acidotic side. And from 7.4 onwards to 7.45, the body is on the alkalosis side, the alkaline side. So as I told you, just remember carbon diacid. So if it is more towards the acidic side, it is mostly the respiratory component that is gone. So it is a respiratory condition. And in the alkaline side, if the body is more towards the alkaline side, it is mostly the metabolic condition. So this is how we arrive at the diagnosis.
Thank you for this information. Actually, this is really a very important piece of information that how sometimes we get stuck because it looks like normal, but we don't know what to choose, how to choose. So it's really a good information to supplement your knowledge so that you can choose the right answer. Thank you, Dr. Priyadarshini. This is really a good one.
Pleasure. So these are the important, this slide is an important takeaway. Just remember, just these are just the memory aids which we discussed. Acid is carbon dioxide or the hydrogen ion. All the B's, base is equal to bicarbonate is equal to a metabolic state. These are the numbers, pH ranging from 7.35 to 7.45. Step number 2, just forget about the sevens and just stick to 35 to 45. And a little effort we have to make while remembering the third component, bicarbonate, is 22 to 26. This will do most of your job. And this table is important. Sometimes in the question, you will just get a history. So, what is happening in respiratory acidosis, what is alkalosis, and metabolic acidosis is this should help you to approach a question of ABGIs. And I hope that all of you are able to attempt those questions and make them right.
No, sure. I will be able to read ABG now, and I don't have to depend on my anesthetist to tell me is it okay or not, because now I also know how to read ABG. Thank you so much, Dr. Priyadarshini, for such an enlightening and simple session. And your small tips, like nobody told me till now this 7.35 to 7.45, and remove the 7 and you get the PSO2. Very simple to remember, no confusion.
Seeing
Then
the
HCO3
question,
22 to 26, if you remember, you are done. So only two values you have to remember. One is this and one is this. And you get automatically this by our tricks. And definitely this BBB is going to help me in understanding base bicarbonate metabolic. So yes, this was really a very simplified way of ABG, which is a nightmare for me always. So I hope I can deal with it now. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, so how you're going to succeed? First of all, you have to be positive. You have to do a right preparation with set timelines. The knowledge journey start with part one, so it has to be passed. Then only you can go to the guideline, reading the guideline, and enjoy the part two reading. Be easy on yourself. Don't get stressed up. Be consistent. Everyday effort. Be persistent. Don't lose the track. Be motivated enough. And small little effort daily makes a big difference. This is what my motto line, I always keep telling the student, do little daily, and one fine day you will see a big result which you have not expected. So small little effort daily is what ultimately will lead to the success. And definitely you have to do practice, and practice makes you perfect. Why us? Why MMRCOG? Because we do small group teaching, so you don't get lost in the big group where nobody takes care, nobody keep a check on you. Even I keep a check personally on my students, and they are really grateful for that, because sometimes you feel lost because it's a long journey. Sometimes you feel lack of motivation. So this is how you need somebody to hold your hand, to push you a little so that you can achieve your goal. You get the quality material in simplified way. The way it is, the ABG simplified so much today, so you get it in a simple way, easy to remember, and that helps you in your clinical practice. You get personalized care from the mentors. You get 24/7 assistance and constant motivation, which is must for this journey. This is what everybody needs because we have many commitments in our life, family, work, and many more. And this exam we have chosen for ourselves to feel good in ourselves. So definitely you need some motivation from someone to keep pushing you, to keep moving, keep progressing, and achieve your goal of becoming MRCOG. So this is our course for part one. It's starting from September. The course fee is 349, but early bird is 199. So you can register. And the people who are attending today or listening to this recording in YouTube, there is a special discount for them. So you can just directly message us and then we will tell you the discount. We are just trying to make your things easier so that you can get boosted by this effort. So start with us, achieve with us, and become a part of AMMRCOG family. We have many students which are like family to us, and definitely you can be one of them, and it will be like making an extended family. These are the different link: Facebook, Telegram, YouTube link of AMMRCOG. You can check that and join there for the recent updates and what all is going on. This is the link to join all the parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. You can join, and your journey start with us and you can finish with us. So we will take you from A to Z. So if you're waiting for the right time, this is the right time. So start it now, and you will, believe me, you will not regret for your time, because yes, you will make a compromise at some level, but at the end, the fruit is very sweet. If you see the RCOG convocation video, you will really feel honored. So it's a worth effort. Whatever effort you put, you get the reward out of it. Not only the degree, but also the knowledge, but also your practice improve, and you stand tall in your practice among your peers. And it's an online thing where you don't have to go or stay in UK. You can just do it from sitting your home. Only the part 3 you have to go to the center. Like in India, there is Delhi is now a center. Earlier you have to go to different places, but now even you can give it in Delhi. So it has become further much easier now. So think about it, and if you are interested, please let us know, as so that we can be part of your journey and we can help you with the course. So thank you very much for attending today. Thank you, Dr. Priyadarshini, for joining and
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you,
giving
everyone.
us a
It was
wonderful enlightenment about ABG. Thank you all
yes.
for attending today, and we will be in touch of you. And you can always message us. We are just a message away.